Start recording it, eh?
Yeah, let's do it.
All good, bro. Well, thanks for joining. It's obviously nice to see your face, and I'm sure for you, bro, it's nice to connect with someone because you're currently in quarantine, aren't you?
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, I'm halfway now, so just over halfway.
So when are you getting out?
26th.
Okay, so it's what, 6 or 7 days away.
Yeah. So six more sleeps, I think.
Yeah, nice one, bro.
Yeah.
So I guess you're the second guest that I've had on this podcast.
Yeah.
So I don't really know where this goes, but I think the one thing that I wanted to try and do with these podcasts, and I've been pretty slack, like this is only the second one I've done in the last month, and we've been in lockdown, so haven't been nailing it too much, but pretty keen to tell your story and try and get the people that do listen or do watch this, get a bit of an understanding on who you are, because you've certainly taken a lot of people by storm, especially in the golfing scene over the last probably 2 years, I reckon. So let me just do a little bit of an intro for you, if that's all good. I'm gonna stroke your ego pretty good here. So,
don't do that.
But so you're the National Academy number one ranked player in the country here in New Zealand. You're a proud Hibiscus Coast boy, hailing out of the Gulf Harbour Country Club. Represent. Your world amateur golf ranking is currently at 67, but you've been as high as 49. Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. Correct. And then you've amassed some pretty good victories over the last couple of years, where you've won the New Zealand Amateur, the Muriwai Open on the Jennian Homes Charles Tour, and the Welsh Open Stroke Play over in Europe on your last tour. And you also were the Low Amateur at the Caris Open and Gulf Harbour Open, all in the last maybe 12 months.
Yeah. It's been a pretty cool year.
It's I mean, what's the if we start to dive into, I guess, what's been happening with you, give us a bit of an update as to what's been happening, what's been going on. You're obviously in quarantine at the moment. Talk to us about that.
It's I'm obviously the first 3 or 4 days weren't too bad, but it's starting to catch up on me a little bit, and it is actually really difficult, probably more difficult than what I thought it was going to be. When I was sitting on that plane waiting to get into quarantine, I was so excited, but that's kind of worn off now. So I just can't wait to, I'm leaving the curtains open pretty late, and there's a lot of golf to be played now. So I just can't wait to go and play some holes. I'm so excited. My clubs are completely clean. I've just been cleaning them in the sink, putting on the ground, doing all kinds of stuff. I'm going a little bit crazy, but.
So what have you been doing in there to keep yourself busy? Have you gotten into you reading any books? Are you watching any Netflix, or what have you been up to?
I'm really not a big Netflix watcher, which is a bit weird, but I watched my first series. I watched this series called Outer Banks.
How good's that?
Yeah, it's actually real good. But then also trying to keep physically okay as well. I've been doing some exercises on the ground and getting my 30 minutes a day walking around in a circle. Just so I don't feel too horrible when I come out.
Yeah, you must be. What's your work recovery at the moment? You must be pretty good if you're in there.
Yeah,
lots of recovery, lots of sleep.
Yeah. I'm gonna about 60% this morning, but it is weird to get into a routine, because you've got nothing really to wake up to. So
yeah,
it's kind of difficult to go to bed early and wake up early. Probably the most exciting part of the day is just the food. It's so exciting waiting for food. And then
what have they been feeding you?
So last week it was kind of it was a random selection because I couldn't choose. And it was really good. This place is ranked, I reckon. Oh, they said number one out of all the hotels for food. So I was stoked about that.
Oh, good. Bit of special treatment for the boy.
Yeah, heck yeah. And then this week I went vegetarian on it. So I thought if there was ever a time to try vegetarian, it'd be now.
And how have you been finding that? What have they been serving up?
Just last night was tempura cauliflower.
How good.
With all these dipping sauces, and they're so good. And then just a real nice salad, for lunch yesterday, and yeah, but no, it's all good.
Epic, bro. Epic. Well, we'll move on. I think I'm pretty keen to. I know a little bit about you. I know you pretty well. We've been hanging out a lot out at Gulf Harbour the last few years. But you know, for the people that do end up watching this, let's dig into, I guess, who Jimmy is. And you know, we can start back in the early days if you want to. But who is Jimmy Hydes?
Well, Jimmy Hydes is a guy that started his golf at Peninsula Golf Club, which maybe a few people don't know. That was in Red Beach before it got demolished for housing. And I started there maybe when I was about 10 years old, and started coaching with a guy called Stuart Reese.
Bit of a legend in golf.
A huge legend. Like, he used to play on the European tour, and so getting coaching from him, I reckon, just got the fundamentals pretty down packed. And at Peninsula, we had this like really cool like little squad going where guys like Kit Biddle, Sam Reese, and just a few other young guys where would be constantly doing like chipping comps, doing comps every single day after school kind of thing. And I reckon that kind of sparked the competitiveness, I reckon. Yeah. That's where it all started, Peninsula Golf Club. Yeah.
Cool. And what how old were you when you did start with golf? How old were you?
I'd say about 10 years old was when I was going out and kind of walking with my dad and just hitting a ball around. And then I got into some more competitive stuff when I was about 12 years old.
What sort of tournaments were you playing in at that age?
So there was a thing called Fairway Flyers, and it was kind of, they did it in age groups, and all around Auckland, every Sunday you'd play 18 holes against your age group from Auckland, and I like lived for that stuff. Like every week I was excited for that Sunday, and you know, if you first, second, or third, you got a medal. So I started racking up all these medals, and it was just such a cool feeling. And then I think the biggest thing, I played in this thing called Junior Tiger.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like a national thing, and it was like the national 12 to 14 like championship, and it was over 9 holes, but I thought it was the biggest deal ever.
Well, at the time it is, right?
Yeah, and I won my age group in a playoff at Manawatu Golf Club when I was 14, and that was, it felt like I just won the Masters. Yeah.
How good.
So, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Nice one. Did you play any other sports growing up, or was it just golf from the get go?
Yeah. No, at school I tried pretty much everything. I played football, played cricket, played volleyball when I could, and then when I got to about year 12, I kind of stopped all that to focus on golf. Yeah.
Nice one, mate. And did you, at what point, because you transitioned it from Peninsula Golf Club to Gulf Harbour, when did you do that? And you were talking a little bit there about the chipping comps and the people that you had to practice and play with out at Peninsula. A lot of those guys are still with you today out at Gulf Harbour?
Yeah, they are. I would have gone to Gulf Harbour maybe around 2016 or 2017. I can't quite remember, but with Peninsula getting destroyed, a lot of those guys went up to Gulf Harbour. And to be fair, to this day, we still do the exact same thing. Nothing's changed. And that's why, like, a lot of people think golf's quite like a lonely sport, and like you're practicing on hours and hours by yourself and stuff, which like occasionally you are, but up at Gulf Harbour, I'm constantly with my mates, and it's actually just good fun being up there.
How good is it? I reckon that's played a huge part in a lot of guys actually starting to play really good out there. Like, and I think you've benefited the most, I think, from that competitive environment. But it's pretty cool to see. Like, I often when I'm walking past picking up range balls and whatnot, pretty envious of what you guys are up to. But it's pretty cool, eh? Yeah. Like, we're pretty lucky, and I think it's just going to get better and better over the next few years as well.
Absolutely. Like what you're doing with like North Harbour and things like that, like I'm literally getting that feeling that I got when I was at Peninsula. Like that's what it
Yeah.
feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's the best thing ever because it's kind of like you're practicing kind of what you feel like in tournaments as well. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Well, you're always competing, and you're always competing against the guys that you actually play with at the tournaments anyway. So I guess you're just getting used to that standard and
yeah,
kind of just familiarizing yourself, I guess, with competition golf. And that's probably, one thing where I think when people meet you, Jimmy, they think that you are this very nice, well-spoken, humble person, which you are to an absolute T. But you're also probably the most competitive person that I've ever met when it comes to chipping comps and putting comps and actually
yeah.
playing on the golf course. And, like, what do you put that down to? Where's that come from for you?
Well, ever since I was like really young, that's been my favorite part about golf is the competitiveness.
Yeah,
Like I used to play with my dad, and would play through a group one time, or some people would come and just like watch you hit a shot, and I'd want to like impress them like crazy. Like I would want them to be like, "Holy shit! Like what a shot!" And I had that from like a really early age. It's like a show off thing. It's really weird. I'm not trying
which
to
is
like
interesting
sound.
because it's interesting though because you don't come across that way, but you obviously love performing.
Yeah, like yeah, me and my dad, like after our 9 holes, if I've like yeah, like I said, if we've played through a group and I've hit this like real cool shot, like we won't stop talking about it in the car. We'll be like, "Oh, you live for those moments, don't you?" and stuff like that. And it just like from a real early age,
Yeah,
like I just loved trying to hit good shots in front of people.
that's definitely. Well, I guess that's an important thing,
Yeah,
right? As you start to play up, move up the ranks, and start to play professionally, that's something that you've got to get
yeah,
good at. So did
yeah,
you say that so you guys were constantly talking about that and affirming that, like in the car rides home, your dad would just
yeah,
keep reminding you and telling you that you live for those moments. That's really cool. Do you think that's played
yeah,
a big part in why you've been able to, step up when you've needed to? Because you've delivered pretty clutch in some pretty big moments.
yeah. I think so. Like me and my dad do heaps of pretty cool chats in the car. There's been some chats where like I'm nearly in tears because like I've I've not I've played some pretty bad golf down the stretch or something like that. And there's been some really hard talks, but yeah, I reckon I'll put a lot down to the chats with him actually. Um, yeah, hugely.
That's really cool. Can't beat a
Yeah,
father son chat in the car.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Oh, that's cool, mate. So we'll move on to the next onto the next bit, which is what's something about your training or preparation that you do that may surprise the people listening.
yeah. Um, well, this is kind of weird, but I'm super forgetful of my past tournament experiences. So
Interesting.
I literally can't remember, and it sometimes it's the good and the bad. I can't remember either. So like I talked to a few guys and they can like recall every single shot from like a year and a half ago from a tournament, and I've just
Yeah.
got no clue whatsoever. And I just wonder if there's something in that. Like I before my tournaments, if I'm before the last round or something like that, I'll actually look on my phone and look at videos of like past videos from like the Muriwai Open or from the New Zealand Amateur, and I'll
Yeah.
just rewatch that, and it kind of brings back all those good stuff and tells me that I've done that before. Like it kind of confirms that nothing's changed. Like that's what I did 6 months ago. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I use.
What do you put that down to?
What do you mean the
Why are you
forgetfulness?
why are you forgetful?
Yeah. I feel like I move on really quickly.
That's a big asset. That's
Yeah,
someone like Dustin. I think Dustin Johnson does that probably better than anybody out on the
yeah,
PGA Tour. That's a pretty good skill to have.
yeah. I just yeah. I'm never hung up about something. And yeah, whenever I step onto the course for like the first round of a tournament, I've got no thoughts of things that have happened in the past. Like I genuinely, even if I tried to think about it, I can't, because I just don't. It just goes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just thought maybe that's a bit different to how everyone else thinks about things.
I would say that's different to a lot of people. Yeah. What about in terms of obviously being able to forget the past? That's a huge asset. Do you get very future based thinking? Like, do you get ahead of yourself at times, or are you pretty good at staying in the present moment?
I do get ahead of myself like before the golf starts, so I'll think, you know, and I can't help it. I would love not to do this, but I think like, you know, what if I win? You know, what's the outcome of that?
Mm-hmm.
But the coolest thing is when I step onto the course, I forget that as well. Like it becomes just what I'm doing on there, and yeah, I'm glad my brain works like that.
That's that's pretty cool. And that's something I didn't certainly know about you. So that's cool that you shared that.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a? Because I often think that it's sometimes good to daydream a little bit and think a little bit about what what winning a tournament might feel like, or what it may or may not do for you. But then it's being able to park that and actually then be able to focus on what you actually need to do in that moment to try and let it take its course, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Like I said, yeah, I do think about the end result a lot. But
And that's totally fine.
Yeah, I agree, because I want to feel what that moment's like, and I want
Well,
to.
that's the art of manifestation. I think they say.
Yeah. Like
Being able to being able to think and constantly think about something and try and feel what that might feel like, but then obviously making sure that you take the necessary steps to actually make it happen as well. You can't just sit there and be wishful thinking. But
I remember it was the night before the final of the New Zealand Amateur, and I was in a pretty good headspace, because I was really excited of just the opportunity to like actually know that it was either me or Charlie who's going to win the New Zealand Amateur, and like it was one of us going to come second, one of us come first, so there was going to be a chance that I was going to win. And I just remember that feeling being amazing. And again, that night I watched highlights of the Murawai final round, and just knew in my mind that I could do it. Yeah.
it's
So
cool, mate.
I use past experiences a lot, like heaps.
That's pretty insightful. So it's almost like you're forgetful on the things that you don't necessarily need, but then you'll jog your memory a little bit on reminding yourself of those experiences to then help you, I guess, perform at game day when you need to do it next, right?
Oh, you're back now.
Did you catch that? I just lost you there for a second.
Yeah.
That's all good.
Yeah, no, I caught it. Yeah.
All good, mate.
Hotel Wi-Fi.
Well, oh, mate, it's a beauty. Okay, cool. Well, I'm pretty keen to dive into last year a little bit. So 2020, regardless of what happened with you and your golf, because that's obviously, that's a big thing. But 2020 has been a big year for lots of people all around the world. COVID's obviously affected. This is monumental times, like for us. Like it's pretty hard to put into words, I think, the scale of what's actually going on. But if we were to focus on just on Jimmy Hydes and his golf career, it started, I think, pre-COVID. You were in Australia, and I think you finished. Did you make it to the quarterfinals of the Australian Amateur?
Yeah, quarterfinals.
So you had a pretty good trip over there. Started the year solid, and I imagine you were pretty motivated coming back to NZ and having some tournaments to play in here. And then obviously COVID hit, put us all out of action for at least, I don't know, 2-3 months, and then you came back a pretty I wouldn't say a brand new golfer. You came back and just absolutely dominated the game here in NZ.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
I genuinely think we started there with the Australian Amateur. That kind of kicked everything off. That was like the first kind of click that I was like, oh, this could be the start of something pretty cool because I'm obviously in some good form. And then COVID did hit. And do you remember it was like mint weather during that when it hit that first time?
COVID, yeah.
Yeah. I just spent time we made this like really good setup in the lawn where it was just like hitting into a net. And I was constantly just working on these drills from my coach pretty much the whole lockdown, and then just going for walks and things like that. And I think it was just awesome to like my mind was so free during it. And I actually went through a breakup during that stage relationship.
That's right. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, and
we were both going through breakups.
Yeah, I know. We're both in a state. And yeah, that's right.
We were there for each other, mate.
I know we were. And Muriwai was actually my first tournament after the breakup and after COVID, obviously. And it was this weirdest feeling, like I was only thinking about golf. My mind didn't feel like it was clogged with anything else. And I was just having so much fun playing golf. Like I felt like I wouldn't want to be doing anything else, especially that week at Muriwai. And it was, I can't even explain how weird and special it felt. Like it was more than just the golf for that week. It was, I was just at ease with everything.
Incredible. So what was the sorry, you carry on, mate.
No, I just saying it was. I've never quite felt what I felt that week. I'm not trying to go all spiritual on you, but
hey, mate, you can go as deep as you want with me, mate.
Yeah, I was just I feel like I was a different person. And
almost like a rebirth.
Yeah, and I realized how much I enjoy what I'm doing and how kind of lucky I was, and I think that just carried on to each tournament I went to.
Yeah.
And that was right when I had my like real good tournament finishes.
Yeah. I think a lot of people had that coming back after that forced break, coming back to golf and actually just being grateful for being out there because it was pretty obvious how quickly it could be taken away. I know I certainly felt that way heading into Muriwai. I didn't really plan on playing, hadn't done any real practice, but I just remember getting there to the Pro-Am on the Wednesday and just being like, far out, this is actually really fun, seeing everybody, getting into the tournament again. But yeah, it was fun. So let's so after Muriwai, you then, where did you go after that? You had obviously some pretty good finishes on the Charles Tour after that, but tell us about how you wrapped up the end of last year, because there was probably, there were two big wins in the Muriwai Open and then the New Zealand Amateur, but there was heaps of other good golf in there as well, if you can remember.
Yeah, honestly, I'm trying to dig back now.
That's why I'm trying to bait you into it.
I better just go check my videos on my phone.
I feel like I know more about you. I feel like I know more about your results last year from doing the research than you might.
You honestly do. No, it was. I was thinking about my results a little earlier as well, and just one other random thing is that I had a caddy for every tournament I played well in. I thought that was quite interesting. So yeah, that was just something random that maybe I should think about more.
Yeah, maybe. We'll get to that too. Because you had a pretty good caddy on your Europe trip. But I'll just rattle through some of these results, Jimmy, because I've got it up here on my computer. So you started off with your first place finish at Muriwai. You finished third at the Pegasus Open, second at the Karis Open, 9th at the Ngāmutu Classic, and then you won the New Zealand Amateur, and then you finished 5th at the Mount Open. So for those that don't know, most of those events are all Charles Tour events. So you're playing against the best pros that we've got in the country. You're a leading amateur at a couple of them, and I think you came second to Markor down at Pegasus, where he had a great event as well. Those are some pretty good. Those are some pretty good results.
Yeah. I found a huge consistency in my golf game. That was a big thing. I had just started seeing a strength and conditioning trainer as well. And funny enough, Muriwai was my first tournament that I had fully gymmed through the event. And I thought I was going to, gymming through an event, I thought I was going to feel horrible and terrible. And it turned out that I turned up to the range each morning feeling like I was the same person each day. Where, normally you can turn up to the range on a different morning and you'll be like, well, why is my swing like this today? I must have slept on something wrong last night. But it didn't feel like that. And I was really happy that I put that gym stuff into work for that event. And I tried to carry that on through the rest of the tournaments as well. And I think it kept my body in a better shape as well. And just, I think that was quite a big thing actually. And then also, I was working with my coach a lot. And we have some pretty cool things called blueprints that I can work on when I'm away from him. And with those Charles Tours,
important, right?
Yeah. And with those Charles Tours, I was away from him quite a lot, and I was just constantly chipping away at some stuff with my swing on the range, and it just felt like I was always under control with what I was doing, and I felt like I never got lost through all those events. I think that was a big part. Like I was always really happy with where my golf game was at, so that was like a big weight off my shoulders that I didn't have to think anything about my golf game.
That's nice. So let's if we were to try and summarize the last 18 months, or let's just go ever since COVID last year, so from Muriwai up till now, what would be, you're gonna have to jog the memory bank here, but for you and in your eyes, what would be the top 3 highlights for you in your golf over the last year and a half, and try and rank them from number 1 to 3.
Okay. Number 1 would be Muriwai for sure. That was my first big win. 100%. That'd be number 1 for sure. And definitely. Number 2, not necessarily the best tournament in the world whatsoever, but interprovincials, I lost on the last hole to Kazuma Kabori for pretty much North Harbour to lose the interprovincials. And I thought that was a big deal as well. That after that tournament, I just wanted to get better, and I found it really hard losing in the interprovincials. I just think that was a kind of a key point as well that made me wanted a bit more.
Okay. Interesting. So that's a highlight for you?
Yeah, it is.
That's interesting. I rate that. I think that's really cool. Because I mean, you go.
And then number 3 would be probably the New Zealand PGA at Te Puke. I was in contention the whole week pretty much, and I felt like I belonged. Felt like I should have been there, so that was quite a big thing as well.
Okay, wow, not the answers I was expecting to hear, but
I know
that's really cool though. I rate the fact that losing at Whitford Park last year is a highlight, because I think it would have been, I don't know, I was following the scores online all day, and I think it would have been a bit of a fairy tale if you had. Well, it would have been a fairy tale if you'd gone on to win it for Harbour. It's obviously not in our province, but it's in Auckland. Lots of people out watching. You're the number 1 ranked player in the country. Like, everything was just set up for the big finale. So what's the learning that you took from that? What is the What's the big thing that you can take away?
Well, like I had literally come off like some unreal performances, and then went into that event. Another weird small thing that I could take out of it was hydration.
Okay.
I just don't think I drank enough as what I should, and it led to me feeling pretty crap on the golf course. And also, it was just an awesome experience. Like I'd never felt it. It must be what like the guys feel in the Ryder Cup, because being in a team is just so different. Like it's so different. It's so different, like compared to playing just for yourself. Like if if you don't win, when it's just yourself, it doesn't really matter that much. But when there's 6-7 other guys that are wanting it just as bad as you.
Especially when you're playing number one and it comes down to your match, right? Like that's a whole nother, I guess, pressure that you have to sort of deal with. But
I can't really pick anything actually out of it, but I just loved how nervous I felt, and like I don't think I would. I probably will, but I don't think I could get any more nervous than what I was.
Really?
Yeah, and I just thought that was pretty cool.
Wow. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, mate, you'll be down in Ashburton this year for the interprovincial.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, all things going well. Hopefully, I'll be down there as well with the team. That'll be a great week. But I think the team that Harbour could put down on paper this year, I think, definitely has the goods to go all the way. Don't you think?
Absolutely, 100%. I think North Harbour's got such a good team.
Yeah. Oh, cool, mate. Well, let's we'll move on a little bit. So we'll move on into this year, and we won't get into the Europe trip just yet. But you started off this year again back at with the Gulf Harbour Open, which was the first time we had that up at our home track. And I mean, for me, that was just another moment where it was fun for me playing in front of all of our members and whatnot. But I imagine for you, where the clubs really got on behind you and supported you in your career, being able to get into contention and actually put on a show for them, like that must have been pretty cool. Playing with European Tour player Ryan Fox.
Yeah, that was really, really special. Just the amount of people watching and the amount of people, like I felt the support just fully the whole week. And it was just really, really nice to be going down those last few holes with like a little bit of a sniff. Yeah. It was nice to be playing Gulf Harbour with that kind of pressure and those kind of vibes, because we don't get that much, because we play that like in a cart and just real chill normally. So
bit of music in a cart.
Yeah.
Maybe a tequila and soda.
Maybe
Andrew and Fraser are pouring them, maybe, but
yeah.
So tell us about the week. How did it unfold? Were you in the mix from day one, or how did it unfold for you from day one to day 4?
Yeah, no, I wasn't in the mix after day 1 or 2. I don't think. I think I went 1 under, and then maybe 2 under in the second round, and it wasn't really anywhere near the lead. I think guys were going pretty low, which was and then in the third round I shot 8 under, and that was kind of weird because that's my best score round Gulf Harbour ever, and it happened to come at the Charles Tour, and that kind of made me think that's maybe why I love tournament golf. There's just some extra level that I just get an extra kick out of playing tournament golf. And I thought that was pretty cool, and so that meant the final day I was in contention, and apart from, what did Foxy shoot, 10 under?
10 or 11, he went ballistic.
Yeah, 10 or 11.
I
didn't play with him in the final round, but I played in the group in front, and I was just listening to roars of him just like holing out, and that was pretty cool. Like, just people were telling me he's just made like 5 eagles in a row or something like that.
Something stupid, eh?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel like Golf Harbour's built to host tournaments like that, man. Like the
It
way that
really is.
the course, I think that like each hole it kind of blends onto the next, and it kind of, I don't know, first six a lot can happen in terms of you can make a lot of birdies, and in the middle six, it kind of there's a bit of risk reward, and then the last six is just hang on for dear life.
I know. You've just that front nine. You just need to get hot, like you can easily get through like 7 holes at 5 under if you play them well, and then
Cool, mate. Well,
it's cool just thinking about it. I want to get back to that.
I know. Fingers crossed. We have some more tournaments up at Golf Harbour next year. There's rumours. We won't go into details, but there's rumours that there's some stuff happening. But which will be exciting for everybody because there's a huge crop of players out there at the moment that will benefit from some tournament golf out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's we'll move on, mate. So we'll go to, let's fast forward to say, when did you leave for Europe?
July 12th.
July. So I think it must have been around May or June when we were talking, and there wasn't really a lot happening back here in winter. We were sitting up in the cafe up at Golf Harbour, and I remember you asked me something about playing golf overseas and whatnot, and then started trying to put together a bit of a draft schedule of things you could play in, and we were trying to get you into the US Amateur and put a trip together over in the States, and like in my mind you were robbed of an opportunity there. I think you were sitting just outside the top 50. The USGA declined your invite or declined your application for an invite, which I think is I think it's wrong. I thought you'd be well deserving of that, being our national amateur champion and number 1 ranked player, all that stuff. You'd think it'd be a good idea having some international quality in the field. But I mean, that obviously meant that you then had to, reconsider your options, and you decided to go to Europe.
Yeah.
So tell us about your trip to Europe, mate, from week 1 all the way through to the very end.
Yeah. Well, I'm just really glad I did it. There was a lot going against me with getting declined from the USAM. So I feel like it would have been easy just to not go and just chill out in New Zealand. So I'm happy I did it. I got there and watched the Open the day after I got there and followed Foxy and Dan, and that was so cool. And it kind of felt like I wasn't that far away from home because there was 2 Kiwis like right there that I could talk to. So that was really cool. My first event was the Walton Heath Trophy, kind of down South London. And I shot a 5 under par round in the first round. That put me right in it. And then shot like 4 over, something like that. Maybe. Oh, no. Yeah. I don't know if I shot 5 under the first round. Maybe something like 3 under. But I shot a pretty high second round number that I missed cut by a couple. And that was kind of like, holy shit, I've missed a cut. And I kind of thought, potentially, am I going to miss every cut over here? And I was coming from not missing a cut for quite a while in New Zealand at anything to missing my first cut. And it was a really weird feeling. Then I went to my second event, and it was a Euro Pro Tour event at East Sussex. And the weather was just absolutely horrendous, like terrible. But I played really good and actually finished, I think, 32nd. And that was my first event on a Euro Pro Tour event, and on the Euro Pro Tour. And I thought that was a really big deal, because that's potentially a tour that I want to play in.
It's a pathway, right?
Pathway in the next coming years. So that was a really big deal, and kind of got my trip back on the Australian Narrow, with a bit of confidence. And then my next event after that, I think, was the Welsh Open Stroke Play that I won. And I noticed that I stayed with some really, really lovely people in Llanelli in Wales, and they were cooking me breakfast each morning, and cooking me dinners and things like that, and just really, really making me feel like I was at home. And they were dropping me off to the golf course, and everything was just super easy about the week. And I got some really good preparation in, and I got a couple of rounds, practice round, and it was my first ever like proper go at international linksy golf. So I was pretty pumped about that as well. And I played pretty flawless in the first round. It was really windy, and it really did feel like Muriwai. Like it was extremely similar to Muriwai's conditions when I won. And it was kind of like that through the whole event. And again, it just had those vibes of tough, brutal conditions. And I feel like whenever the weather gets bad, I feel like I've got a chance. Like it's this cool little confidence I get. Because I like the challenge of it, and I like trying to keep my head, and I like watching other people. I don't like watching other people like fail, but I like watching other people. I like watching other people struggle and like get frustrated. You know,
yeah, you can use it to your advantage for sure.
Yeah, it's just so cool because you can make a bogey on a par 4 that's straight into the tee, and it feels really good. Like, just look things like that. Like it's completely different golf, and it felt so much like New Zealand and like Muriwai. It was awesome.
So let's dive in a little bit more to that week in Wales, because I think as it happened, was that the week that you were supposed to? Well, that's the same week that the US Amateur was on, so they actually fell on the same weeks. But then obviously, you made the most of your time over in Wales, and then I think you had a pretty good caddy on the bag. Tell us about that.
Yeah. In the final round, I had Sean Fitzpatrick, rugby legend.
Bit of a legend.
Absolute legend. He was on the ban last round. And no, it was so cool. There was like, even in Wales, he's the man. Like, he's on the board of the Scarlets there, which is the rugby team in Wales, and just everyone knows him. And I was joking to some people that like there was loads of people watching, but they were like watching him. But that was cool to have him on the bag. He's actually just got like a amazing sports brain. Like, I don't think I don't think it has to be rugby.
You're not the All Blacks captain by accident, right? Like,
no, there's more to just being, the All Blacks captain. There's a lot going on, and he was pretty cool to have on the bag.
Really, he loves his golf too. Absolutely loves it.
He does. I spent the kind of the last week I was in London with him, just playing golf as well. There's some pretty funny stories actually with the time I spent with him. But no, he was awesome. Yeah.
Epic, mate.
Really cool.
So then after the Welsh Open stroke play, you moved on to did you have 2 or 3 more events up there before you came back?
I had 2 more events. I had one at Ganton on the Brabazon, the English stroke play, and I shot 8 over in the first round. I know, which was like,
why is that?
Kicking the ass. I just won the Welsh, and I just shot 8 over in the first round.
But how was your preparation for that event?
Preparation, as you know, Cam, wasn't good at all. There was no alcohol involved or anything like that, but I got to the hotel quite late because I was struggling to find accommodation, and I was having to get taxis around everywhere. So to the practice round, I was getting taxis, and I only managed to get a quick 18 holes practice in, and it wasn't like any course in New Zealand where you can play 18 holes and feel like you've got the gist of everything. I feel like you had a couple rounds there because there was just so many lines off the tee where you couldn't see much, and you had to fully commit to them. So you had to get that in your head a little bit. And I shot 8 over, and I just flushed it, and had it
Wondering how
so
the hell's
good.
this happened?
I know. But the morning before the first round, I had to do some washing, and I was literally like wearing wet clothes on the practice range, and it was just like, well, this is an experience I would have never gotten if I didn't go overseas. So it was actually quite a cool learning curve to realize how much of like preparation is quite key. Like
Mhm.
Wales, I had everything laid out for me, and then the Brabazon, I had everything against me.
Yeah.
But I did get my shit sorted and shot. I think I went 3 under, 3 under, 2 under to come third in the end from being like
Nice.
100th and something. Yeah, so
Yeah. That must have made you feel pretty good about yourself. To finish an event off strong like that.
it did. I had another one of those chats that I was talking about with my dad on the phone. He just like tried to make it feel like it was a pro event and I was trying to earn some money. Like I just need to make the cut and actually at least get something.
Yeah.
And so that's all I was trying to do was make the cut, and then I did that, which was an awesome feeling. And then from there, I tried to just go out there and just rip it up because I had nothing to lose, and that was such an awesome feeling. That's something that I really love. Is if you play really shit one day, I feel like you don't need to worry about too many things the next day, and you could just go
Mm.
out and you could even try a few different things. You could, you
Freewheel a little bit, eh?
yeah, and I think a lot of people forget that after they have a bad round, that it's actually quite a cool opportunity that second round to do something pretty cool.
Nice, mate. Nice. And so let's after that one at the Brabazon,
Yeah.
you then had was it the Southeast of England Links
Oh
Championship?
yeah, that's right. I missed out that one. Yeah, I had that. And that was at Royal St George's and Royal Cinque Ports, which was
Okay.
sick.
St. George's
It
must have been awesome.
it was so cool because it was obviously after the Open, and they were still getting a few of the grandstands down. So we played one round there, and that was off the tips, and it was just awesome. Like apparently we got it way harder than what the Open was, which was
Really?
which is a bit different. But again, I think I shot 7 over in the first round at Royal Cinque Ports. It was just really tough conditions, but yeah, just I didn't quite have my A game, and then again played really good the last 3 rounds and finished seventh after being quite way down the leaderboard.
Yeah.
So I was kind of getting a bit annoyed about having this crap first round. But again, this was like proper links. Wales wasn't quite. It was more inland, kind of artificial. This links was proper links. So it was that first round. I just felt pretty beaten up.
Yeah.
But then I was quite proud of myself how I felt like I got the hang of it towards the end. I shot even par in the last 2 rounds, and that was kind of a couple of the best scores out of everyone there. So I was really happy with that. And again, just
Nice.
making the cut after a bad round.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty important skill to try and develop, is being able to still make the cut.
Yeah.
Particularly when you start to turn pro, right? Like every dollar counts when you do make that transition. But your last event of the trip before I think you went to London or something like that, you told me, but last event of the trip was the Motor Caddy Masters. Is that another Euro Pro event?
Yeah, so that was my second Euro Pro Tour event, and I was very thankful to get an invite to that. So I was pretty pumped, and I stayed with some really cool Scots up in Kirkcaldy. Funny enough, I met them on the train the first day I got here at the Open, and they just and they said if I was ever up there I could stay with them. So that was pretty cool, and he jumped on the bag as well, and I shot 5 under in the first round, and
awesome.
I was bogey free, which I was pretty stoked about, and that kind of confirmed in my brain as well that this is where I should be, and the level of golf, it's not crazy different or crazy good. Like I can compete, and then I shot 1 under in the second round. It was only 3 rounds, and then shot then shot one over in the final round. So it was one of those tournaments where you had to go pretty low. So I made the cut and finished, I think, quite down the end, about 45th or something like that. But it was quite a big deal that I was in contention again.
Yeah.
So I got those juices going. Like, yeah,
it's the best feeling.
It is, and just to know that I can do that in a Euro Pro Tour event, that was like such a mint way to finish the trip.
How do you get a start in one of those events? Obviously, they're mostly pros. Did you have like a management company over there looking after you, or how did that work?
Yeah, a little bit. I met a guy at Walton Heath actually who he works for a management company, and he had a certain amount of starts on the Euro Pro Tour for amateurs every year. And there was I think the English amateur on where I couldn't play because you had to be English. So he realized that, and he was really awesome. He gave me a start because I had nothing to play in. And then after making the cut there, he suggested that I could play another one. So it was just a really cool connection that I got. And again, going there next year, he might be able to give me a few more starts and things like that. So that was a real cool part about the trip, was meeting people like that.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So then you wrapped up. You got that final start in the Motor Caddy Masters in Scotland. Where to from there? You finished up your trip. Did you do any more sightseeing, or what did you do after that?
I spent another week and a half in Scotland, and when I saw St Andrews, I played a real cool course called Dunbunny, which isn't too far away from St Andrews.
Okay.
That was an amazing course. It was, I think, about 3 years old, but it just probably the best course I've ever played.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah, it was just really fun. Like, there was a lot of drivable par fours. There were a lot of greens that were kind of shaped in bowls. It was just really fun golf. And then I played a couple other smaller courses as well and just chilled out. And
nice.
Yeah, it was good. And then I went back down to London and spent some time with Sean. Actually, he took me to a rugby game. That was
cool.
pretty cool. Yeah.
What teams were playing? Do you remember?
It was the Scarlets versus the Lions, the South African Lions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Effort.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what was the biggest learning from your trip over there? If there was one or two key takeaways, obviously preparation. I think that stands out for me as something that I took away from what you've said. But what would be the one or two key learnings from your trip? What did you learn about yourself?
Yeah. Learned about myself that I can take my game internationally, not just in New Zealand. I think there was no way I was going to find it out unless I actually went and did what I did.
Exactly.
Like, I can go play golf over there next year and know that, I've been here and done this. I can do it again, and I can do it better. It's
exciting.
That was probably the biggest thing. Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. All right, mate. That's I mean, unless there's anything else you want to add about the Europe trip, we can wrap that part up there, and we'll move on to the next bit. Let's dive into something that I guess is trying to get a bit of a better understanding on you and your career. But what's been, would you say, the biggest obstacle that you've had to overcome in your career? Something that you're, I guess, really, really proud of.
I'd actually say the biggest obstacle is probably what we're facing now. With COVID, like, I feel like when I was selected into the National Academy, normally would be sent all over the world, playing golf tournaments and things like that, and just that didn't happen, and it's been really hard for all the guys in the National Academy, I think. Just not having that. I think that's why I'm quite proud of this trip I've just done, actually. Yeah, I genuinely think we're going through the hardest stages now, because normally it's all on. Like, we're missing out on Asia Pacific Amateur next month, I think, and just a whole bunch of things like that. So I think it's just important to. I'm just really glad I did what I did in the UK, and just kept the golf going a little bit. And hopefully next year I can kind of get to Australia and hopefully things start getting just a little bit better.
Yeah, fingers crossed. There's some sort of border openings for us heading over there and coming back, because I think like January through to March is pretty hectic over there, right?
With golf,
Yeah, usually
yeah,
there's lots on for you guys to play over there.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it goes. I think Avondale, New South Wales Amateur, Master of the Amateurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Australian Am. Yeah.
Do you think you guys will go? Have you had any word from Golf New Zealand or Golf Australia as to whether or not what the chances are for you guys to get over there?
Yeah, I just know that they're looking to like play all the tournaments for sure, but unfortunately, I don't know from New Zealand Golf or Golf New Zealand how. Yeah. Hopefully, if Golf New Zealand can't send a team, we can at least still go over there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean that's one thing that I did want to touch on is it is golf New Zealand related, but it's relating to the Jennian Homes, just the Charles Tour in general. Like what has that tour done for you in terms of your development, being able to play with guys like Mike Hendry, Ryan Fox,
Yeah.
Ben Campbell, Josh Geary, all these players who are playing overseas internationally. Did playing well on the Charles Tour events, do you think that helped you, I guess, when you went overseas to Europe, playing the Euro Pro events, to know that you've already footed it with some of the guys that are out there?
Yeah, hugely. I think like I'll try and get it in my head that playing against those guys is actually quite a big deal. And it's actually, if you're winning those events or finishing really high up, you're actually playing some really good golf. And I tried to just think of me having good results in those, meaning that I can definitely play overseas as well, because I genuinely think the level from the Charles Tour isn't that far away from the Euro Pro Tour, things like that. It's like it's not that far away at all. Yeah. So yeah, I just think the Charles Tour has just been huge. Just to constantly have tournaments playing, and they feel pretty big as well when you're in the final round as well. Like people still come out and watch, and it does, like, it's pretty much the biggest you're getting in New Zealand. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, it's a shame that we've had a couple of events postponed or cancelled, and then I think what have we got coming up? I think they're still planning on trying to have the Namutu Classic and hopefully Pegasus, I think.
Hopefully
going ahead. But I mean, the fact that you've had a few tournaments cancelled, you've had the New Zealand Amateur, and then having lost the two tournaments in the Bay of Plenty. What are you looking at here in New Zealand to play for the rest of the year? What have you got penciled into your calendar?
Yeah, hopefully Taranaki and Pegasus. And then hopefully interprovincials as well.
Yeah.
And then more leading into next year, just hopefully those Australian tournaments. And then hopefully I can kind of jump around a little bit more and maybe get to the US and play a couple of the big ones over there, and then maybe jump from there to Europe, and so kind of just do a bit more jumping instead of just basing myself in the UK.
Yeah, nice. I mean, learning the ropes, right, of traveling, competing, playing against different fields on different courses overseas. Like that's the dream.
Absolutely. So I just hoping to do just a bit more jumping around.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Well, that's we had so I put it up on Instagram the other day that I was going to have you on, and had a few questions come through. So these questions that are coming through don't have to be big long answers, but they're from I guess fans of yours or people that follow you. The first question we've got from our friend Josh Rookes, and the question that he wants to know is, how did Rooksie Pop help you become the person you are today?
Oh, what a question! Must have been all those putting comps, Rooksie Pop. Like if you get called Pop from Josh Rookes, it means you've got something special about you. So it's kind of an honor. Yeah, must have been all those putting comps, Josh.
Nice one. All right. And the next question from Alex Hamilton. This is a bit more of a serious one, I guess, but are there any rules or regulations in golf that you think should be changed?
I'm actually pretty happy. Like I'm pretty chill with everything that's going on. I think the only thing that I want changed, and I know everyone's trying really hard for it, is the stereotype of golf is still pretty like old people and not very cool. Like when I was at school, I was like the only one who played golf, and
yeah,
it just wasn't that cool to be a golfer. So I'd love that to change a little bit over the next few years, and just be something really cool it's really starting to, which is
starting
so
to,
cool to see. Yeah,
nice. All right, next question from Josh Margetts. Do you ever question if you're good enough? And if you do, what is your process to get through your own mental barriers?
Yeah. I do get, bad thoughts going through my head occasionally like that. But I talked a little bit earlier that I've had like results in tournaments where I can look back on and be like, I've done that. And I think I'm really lucky to have that with me. Like I said, I can look on my phone and look at some videos of me coming down the stretch and performing well. Like I have evidence to show that I can do it. And I reckon that's something that I'll always have with me, that I'll always keep is, nothing, no one can take that away from me. Like maybe it'd be different if I've never done that stuff before. But I feel like I'm set because I have those kind of things.
Nice. All right, next question from Chris Steele. What is your thought process on the first tee, and how do you deal with playing in front of big crowds?
Yeah, obviously I do get quite nervous, which is, I feel like if I stop getting nervous, I probably don't want to play golf anymore because it's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah.
I just feel like you'd probably relate to this as well, Cam. When you're nervous, but you've put in all the practice, your body knows how to hit the ball still. Like your body still has a way of, like, I put that down to all the practice actually is.
And sometimes better than what you do.
Like I find that when I'm quite nervous, there's a lot of people watching, I will hit it like 15 meters longer. Like just because there's just something going through my body that's quite cool. So I think that, and I use I use a thing called full send, and that's if I'm nervous or a bit anxious, I say it under my breath kind of thing, and it makes me fully commit to my golf shot.
Awesome.
And it just means like I'm never doing something half-assed. Like if I hit it in the ship, I've hit it in the ship. Like there must be something wrong with my swing. But if I'm fully committed, like just more often than not, it seems to go where I want. And if it does go in the crap, it doesn't really matter because at least I've fully commit to it. It's not like I've half-assed, like,
man.
And just fully commit.
Fully commit, man. That's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key. All right. Last question from from the viewers is, to jump to the next level, what do you think you need in your game? And do you have a timeline in mind to turn pro?
Yeah. I think to jump to the next level, I still have quite a little bit of a way to go. I still want to physically get a bit stronger and just hit it a bit further, and also have a bit more consistency in my golf swing, where it just gets more repeatable. So I think it's close, but I just need physically that's the biggest one.
You with an extra 30 or 40 yards would be scary.
Yeah, and I know it as well. So that really, I think I've got a pretty big opportunity as well with not many tournaments coming up, where I can try and make some pretty big inroads with that kind of thing. So that's a big one. And then timeline. I don't really have a timeline. I definitely want to turn pro, but I think I'm still pretty young, and I think I just want to turn pro when I feel like I'm at a peak. Like I feel like I'm as good as I can get. And I don't quite feel like I'm as good as I can get right now for sure. So I think maybe still a little bit of time to go, but definitely aiming to turn pro for sure.
Nice one, mate. Right, well, that wraps up the questions from the people that sent them in. We've got a couple more questions that I've got for you, and then we're going to finish up with some quick fire questions. So,
Cool.
And this is, I guess, an opportunity for you to thank, or mention people that have played a big part in your career, because I know there's a pretty long list. Like your team is a big team. There's a big team of people that are contributing to your success. And but I would say, who's had the biggest impact on your career thus far? And you're more than welcome to name all of them if you want to as well.
Yeah. I'd probably have to start off with my coach. We've been together for about 5 years now. Sam Parsons, he's played a pretty big role in my career. He feels a bit like family. And he's a guy that I can talk to, kind of like stuff that I talk to with my dad. We can go pretty into depth with some pretty weird stuff that like mental stuff and things like that I can't do with any other people. So my coach. Then I'd have to say Stuart Reese, my first coach. He was the guy that kind of ingrained short game, and quite a lot of mental stuff as well. And I say the family's got to be a huge part. They're probably one of them. Well, they got to be one of the most supportive families around. They're so amazing with my golf. Oh, there's just so many other people. Golf Harbour for sure. Like I wouldn't have been able to do this trip without the members of Golf Harbour. And I'm so excited to get back and see them all. Those are really the main ones. There's so many others that. But
no, that's cool, mate.
Yeah.
How just on that, talking about your obviously the strong relationship that you do have with your coach. For those that may or may not be listening that either have a coach or are umming and ahhing about working with somebody, how important is developing like a really long trusting relationship with someone to as a young player? Like would you say that's been one of the biggest keys for you in getting to where you're at now? Because 5 years is a long time to be working with somebody.
Yeah, it's really, really important. I think there's been a number of times where I've felt pretty stuck and I just haven't known what to do around my golf game really. And then I can go to him and it's like he's got this key and he just gets me back on track really easily. And I can't quite explain it, but I always think if I didn't have him, I'd be stuck in this loop going around in a circle, not really getting any better. He kind of makes the changes happen. And he's pretty good with trying to change things, but also realizing that I've got tournaments to play, and I've got to just free up everything as well. So without making it complicated, he's constantly trying to tune up my game without me really even knowing it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, mate. That's awesome. So let's we'll finish up with the. Actually, you can decide. Do you want me to ask you this one more question, or should we go to the quick fire questions? Which one do you want to start with?
Do you have another question? Did you say?
There's one more question, which is probably a little bit in detail. We've got the quick fire questions. Which one do you want to start with?
Go with the little bit more in detail one.
Okay. Question. All right. What's your ultimate dream?
It's actually pretty easy. Ultimate dream is play on the European Tour, and I want to win. I want to win a lot on the European Tour as well. I want to be on the European Tour and actually like stay on the European Tour. I want to win kind of like 10, 20 times.
Epic,
I want to play in the Open Championship. That's pretty special as well. I've always got some I've always been quite crazy about the Open Championship.
Okay.
Yeah. Seeing
Easy,
Dan
mate.
Foxy do it, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that must have been awesome seeing it in the flesh.
Yeah.
And realizing it's probably quite attainable, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's we'll get to the quick fire questions. So whatever comes to mind. It's the first time I've done this, so we'll see how it goes. But I think I already know the answer to this first one. But if you can win one major, which one is it and why?
Yeah. The Open Championship. It's just that it feels like, well, it's not always at St Andrews, but the home of golf. I'd love to go there.
Okay. All right. Cool. Greatest player of all time.
Tiger Woods.
Hats
Easy.
on or off in the clubhouse?
Oh, they've got to be off. Still. It shouldn't be, though. No.
Traditionalist, eh? Traditionalist.
I know, but it always comes off. Yeah.
Okay.
There's
you
too many
taking your
people
head?
that tell me off.
Okay. Shaking hands on the 18th green. You taking your head off or leaving it on?
Taking my head off.
Nice. Okay. On a night out, what are you drinking?
Gin and tonic.
What are you stopping to eat
vodka Coke.
Vodka Coke? All right. You're in the Uber. What are you stopping to eat on the way home?
Macca's double quarter pounder.
Nice.
Yeah.
And day after, what are you watching on Netflix the next day?
I'm not watching Netflix. I'm watching highlights of golf.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
That's it, mate, for the quick fire questions. That was good fun.
Cool.
But I think, that for me, mate, that's pretty much all that I had, planned to try and talk to you today about. And you've been pretty awesome sharing with me and hopefully the listeners as well a bit about your journey and hopefully giving some people, deeper insight to who you are and what makes you you. So thanks for your time today, Jimmy. And I know you've got another week in lockdown.
Six sleeps. Yeah.
6 more sleeps, but who's counting, eh?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely counting. Yeah.
You must be excited to see your family, and are you going to be able to catch up with your girlfriend Tara?
Yeah. Hopefully, I think my family's pretty busy trying to move house.
Okay.
Or like getting stuff into storage. So I potentially could spend a little bit of time up in Whangarei with my grandparents. So yeah.
Oh, nice.
Hopefully fly from there down to Tara or the other way around. So yeah.
Cool, mate. Oh, well, enjoy the family time, and I'm sure we'll talk some more during lockdown as well.
Awesome, mate. It's so good to talk to you.
Awesome. Cheers, Jimmy.
Cheers, Cam.